The Gurning Man of Glasgow. There are places in every city where the past lingers. Not in the buildings, not in the streets, but in the stories people whisper when the sun goes down. And in Glasgow, one of those whispers is about a figure they call the Gurning Man. Tonight, settle in, breathe slowly, and let the atmosphere unfold around you. Because this is not a story of violence, or monsters, but of something far stranger, an unanswered presence that moved through the night, twisting its face into dreadful expressions, as if trapped between a scream and a smile. This is the slow, unsettling tale of the Gurning Man of Glasgow. A forgotten Glasgow urban mystery story that refuses to fade. Part 1. A city at night. Glasgow in the late 1970s was a city of contrasts. By day, it was busy, warm, familiar buses rattling past sandstone buildings, people calling out to each other across the Barris market, and the scent of bakeries drifting through cold air. But by night, the city felt different. Street lamps cast long reflections onto rain-soaked pavement. Alleys exhaled with the smell of damp stone. And if you listened closely, you could hear your own footsteps echoing back to you, just a little too long after you stopped walking. As if someone else were pacing quietly behind. It was in this atmosphere, calm yet uneasy, that the first encounter happened. Part 2. The first sighting. It was late. Past midnight. A woman living in the South Side district had returned home after a long shift. She made tea, hung her coat, and settled into the stillness of her living room. Then, a sound. A faint rustle. Like fabric brushing against brick. At first, she thought it was nothing, just the old building settling with the cold. But the sound came again. A little louder. A little closer. She walked toward her window, pulling the curtain just enough to look outside. And there he was. A man, standing completely still. Except for one thing. His face. It was contorted, pulled into a grotesque grimace, lips twisted, eyes wide, jaw moving in strange jerking motions as if he were silently screaming or silently laughing. The woman froze. He wasn't touching anything. He wasn't trying to break in. He wasn't even standing in the shadows. He was simply there. Staring. Or maybe not staring, because his eyes seemed unfocused, almost as if he were looking through the world rather than at it. She stepped back in fear. And the moment she did, the man ran. Not away from the building in a normal way. Not at the pace of someone startled. He sprinted with unnatural speed, like a shadow being pulled by invisible hands, vanishing between the streetlights. The woman would later describe him with trembling uncertainty. He looked like he was in pain. Or trying to stop something inside him from getting out. The police dismissed it. A prank. A drunken stranger. A misunderstanding. But soon, more sightings would follow. Part 3. A pattern emerges. Over the next year, reports continued sporadically. Never violent. Never aggressive. Just uncanny. Always late at night. Always with the same twisted expression. The same jerking movements. The same silent grimace that made witnesses shudder. He appeared near bridges. Near bus stops. In front of windows. And sometimes, most disturbingly, inside stairwells of residential flats. One young woman recalled walking up the stairs to her apartment. She turned the corner and found a man hunched on the landing, rocking, grimacing, making no sound at all. His face was stretched into a bizarre snarl, his jaw trembling as though he was struggling against invisible hands pulling at his skin. She said. It wasn't human, the way he looked. But he was human. And that somehow made it worse. When she screamed, the man didn't attack. He didn't speak. He simply bolted down the stairs faster than she thought a person could run, his movements stiff, unnatural, like a puppet yanked by too many strings. It was then the legend began to form. The Gurning Man. A name whispered by locals, half joking, half afraid. This became, unknowingly, the beginning of a true Glasgow urban mystery story. Part 4. Who was he? Theories began to spread. Some said he was a mentally ill man slipping through the cracks of the city's institutions. Some believed he was a drug user experiencing intense episodes of uncontrollable facial spasms. But others whispered something different. Because there was something strange, very strange about these sightings. The Gurning Man never spoke. Not a word. Not even a breath. Several witnesses insisted that even when he stood only a foot away, they heard nothing at all. Not breathing. Not footsteps. Not clothing shifting. Silence. Like he wasn't fully there. One old man claimed. When he ran, I didn't hear his shoes on the pavement. It was like he glided. More unusual still. No two witnesses described his face the same way. Some said he was young. Some said middle-aged. Some swore he was wearing makeup. Others insisted his face looked like wax melting under heat. A man with one face. Seen in a dozen different ways. Was he real? A hallucination? A shared delusion? Or something stranger? Regardless of the truth, the reports only grew. Part 5. The most famous encounter. The most well-documented sighting came in 1979. A woman living alone awakened in the deep quiet of the night. At first, she sensed nothing unusual. Just the stillness of her room. And the distant hum of the city settling into sleep. But then, she felt something. A presence. A weight in the air. She turned her head slowly toward the foot of her bed. And her breath froze inside her throat. There, sitting on the edge of her mattress, was a man. Thin. Shivering. His face twisted into that same grotesque grimace, teeth bared, lips pulled back unnaturally far, eyes trembling in their sockets. He rocked slightly back and forth. His hands hung limp at his sides. His jaw clenched and unclenched silently. His cheeks pulled tight like stretched rubber. The woman could not move. Could not speak. Could barely even breathe. Then, as suddenly as lightning splitting a calm sky, the man stood. His movements were jerky, unpredictable, like a puppet with tangled strings. And without a single sound, he ran from the room. By the time she reached her door, he was gone. The street was empty. No sign he had ever been there. But the imprint on the mattress remained a deep, unmistakable dip in the fabric where a body had been sitting. This became the sighting that defined the legend, because it suggested something people had not considered before. The Gurning Man wasn't always outside. Sometimes he was already inside. Part 6: Theories and Explanations. Over time, countless theories formed. 1. A sufferer of facial dystonia. Some believe he suffered from a neurological condition that caused painful, involuntary muscle spasms, forcing his face into grotesque expressions. 2. A local peeping Tom. A less supernatural theory. A disturbed individual spying on women at night, using the contorted face to intimidate or confuse. But even this theory had issues because none of the sightings described any attempt at assault or even communication. He simply appeared, grimaced, and fled. 3. A drug-induced psychosis. Possible. But the silence, the speed, the strange variation in descriptions, none of it quite fit. 4. A sleeping paralysis hallucination. Some insist the bed-sitting incident was nothing more than night terror. Yet the woman's mattress indentation suggested otherwise. 5. A shared psychological projection. One theory suggests Glaswegians in the late 1970s were experiencing a collective anxiety, and the figure of the Gurning Man became the embodiment of that fear. A modern folklore. A face of dread shaped by the human mind. 6. Something unexplainable. And then there are those who believe the Gurning Man was not completely human, not demonic, not monstrous, but perhaps something caught between worlds, between emotions, between states of being. Something wearing the shape of a man, but not fully understanding the expression it tried to mimic. Something trying to smile, and failing. Whatever he was, the sightings stopped abruptly in the early 1980s. As if he simply walked out of Glasgow and never returned. Part 7: Why this story still matters. The Gurning Man leaves behind no answers, no identity, no motive, no clear explanation. Just a series of quiet, unsettling moments remembered by those who witnessed them. He never harmed anyone. He never spoke. He never left a trace behind. He existed only in flickers. In the corners of windows. In stairwells. In bedrooms where the night pressed too heavily. And perhaps that is why this Glasgow urban mystery story still haunts people today. Because the scariest part of the legend is not what he did. It's what he didn't do. He did not attack. He did not break. He did not strike. He simply appeared. As if pulled by threads of loneliness, pain, confusion, or something else entirely. Something we may never understand. Part 8: The Final Night. Some believe the last true sighting occurred on a foggy evening near the River Clyde. A bus driver finishing his late route noticed a man standing near the bridge. Thin, motionless, face twisted into that now familiar grimace. As the bus approached, the man turned his head slowly, stiffly locking onto the driver with trembling eyes. Then he stepped backward and vanished into the fog. Some say he walked away into the night. Others say the river swallowed him. And others? They believe he simply dissolved back into whatever strange place he came from. Because just like that, The Gurning Man of Glasgow was never seen again. Calm, thoughtful, and open-ended. In the end, the Gurning Man leaves us with a single question. What do we fear more, the things we cannot explain, or the possibility that some mysteries were never meant to be solved? His story lingers, soft and unsettling. Like a whisper carried through the fog. Like footsteps that echo after you stop walking. A gentle reminder that even in the safety of modern cities, the unknown still waits in the quiet spaces. Watching. Listening. Gurning. This has been the story of The Gurning Man of Glasgow, a forgotten Glasgow urban mystery story that continues to haunt the imagination. Sleep well, if you can.